How's it going?
Good, man. What do you got there, Striper? You do?
Yeah. Oh, you'll love his wall. It'll remind you of your room in college.
I wasn't that cool. I didn't have Striper. I needed them.
Didn't have Striper.
eBay.
Remember, you had all those. We'll get into that. We're gonna talk about something that Jason has no idea is gonna talk about. For some reason, my snowball isn't working. Snowball. I'm getting snowballed.
I just sent everybody home so they can get home before the parade starts.
Oh man, so you've got it's about to happen.
Yeah, it's going down. It starts about 2 weeks before the Derby, and you have a big air show and then all kinds of things during the week, and then people are at the track now. The big races start today, and then tomorrow, and then Saturday's the big day.
So Mike lives in Louisville. Louisville.
Whoa. Put a bunch of rocks in your mouth.
Whoa. Not good? Whoa. Imagine how I would have said it in my drinking days.
You probably would have said it correctly.
Likely.
Welcome to the Insurance Dudes, a podcast for insurance agency owners helping us to think of different ways to optimize our business and our lives. On this week's episode, we're honored to have the President and General Manager at DAC, Digital Marketing Executive from Louisville, Kentucky, Michael Corak. He controls ad spend for clients with budgets as high as $140 million a year. Insane. You may even get a story about a serial killer. That's next.
Mike and I go way back. Back when NWA was on the radio. So we went to University of Arizona together. We lived in the same house. We're going to tell you a very interesting story about that we'll have some fun with. But I'd like to bring valuable content to the listeners, and if there's anybody that we've had some pretty tremendous guests, but getting Mike on here, aside from the personal and him being awesome and a really good dude, his knowledge of how the interwebs works and marketing on the internet at a very high level, so much different than because we've been dealing with some of these little ad agencies and some ad strategy, but from a 40,000 foot view, and that's where he sits. Because how many people are you in charge of now?
My office pays for 150 or so, and we're 500 people now, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, different scale, right? I don't think even in our world there's anybody that has close to 500 staffers under them. No. So
yeah,
right.
Different.
Yeah. So why don't you jump in? We're pretty loosey goosey and just want to keep it interesting.
Yeah. So I'll do a little intro. So yeah, Mike Corak. I run the southern region of DAC, and DAC is what we call performance marketing agency. So all digital. Our clients have some sort of real outcome that we measure. So we don't work with people like Coca-Cola or Kraft macaroni and cheese branders. We're working with people that have service areas or are trying to get sales. So retailers, could be quick serve restaurants, some sort of hybrid home service, that kind of thing. So those kind of clients at big spend. So we might have, my biggest client's got a $40 million digital media spend a year that we're running. Yeah. And it takes 16 people full time to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff we're working on. We are considered a mid-tier agency. There's some that are, 10,000 people. And then there's some that are like 100. We're kind of in the middle. So, good clients for us are ones where we can do all the stuff that we can do through performance. We've got some larger clients where we do pieces of it, but if we've got our way, we're doing search and social and content marketing and all that kind of stuff, email, those sort of things. So that's kind of all I've really done my whole career, agency side.
I remember when you started, because we've been going back that far. I think maybe the intro to our career on the internet was those chat rooms, right? What was you had a handle like Captain something.
Master Blaster, and we would
Master Blaster.
That was it,
right.
and we would speak in only caps, and we would get thrown out of chat rooms for yelling at people.
Yeah, all caps. I'd be like, "Hey, dude, turn off the all caps." He'd be like, "No, we got to get."
Master Blaster. What kind of chat rooms were you guys in?
It'd be just nothing sports, nothing.
CompuServe, and remember like AOL when you had to get the CD?
Yes.
Like
that's what it was.
Like we'd get kicked out, so we'd go down to Circle K and get a new CD, so we could get a new login to AOL. And
we were collecting the CDs for a while. What did we have? A box, or we were stacking them? I remember that summer we had hundreds of them. Yeah,
hundreds. Yeah, we'd tell people, look, anytime you see those AOL CDs, just get on them, bring them over. We'll give you beer. But back to the spend. This is fascinating. What's that?
Oh, I was saying pre-Netscape.
Oh yeah,
It was those days before. Yes, and AOL was probably as sophisticated as it was probably then. Yeah.
Which, look at how full circle.
Right.
I'm fascinated with this ad budget. When you say 40 million a year, to put that in perspective, that's 109,000 a day if you're advertising every day.
Right.
And so, is that across? Is that just Facebook, or is that Facebook, YouTube? What? How do you spend 110 grand a day?
Well, in that case, it's actually just search. So it's Google, Bing, those kind of guys, and then some of the products that go with that. So Google Display Network or
okay.
But yeah, we're pitching somebody right now who has a total digital spend of, and I can't say who it is for NDA, but you would be able to guess. And I think they're 130 million a year, and that would be search, social, and display. And that's a bigger one, but that is not the biggest one I know of, not even close. They're actually not even the biggest one in their industry. So the difference between what I saw early when we were first out of school, where you would be happy to get 1% of advertising budget, and today is that some of these companies I'm talking about are taking 50, 60% of their total marketing budget and putting it online. And that's crazy. So when we were first out of school, if you remember, we were talking to clients about why you might need a website. That's how old we are. And I would get requests from big companies that they'd say, here's our brochure. Can you make me a website? And I'm like, no, that's not how we do it. We don't put brochures. Thank you very much. That's what 98? What is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
we won the national championship.
Yeah. And now we're watching them, whack out their full radio spends. They're out of print for most of them at that point. Their TV spends are changing, right? So they're going online. So it's kind of same dollars that they had in the pool. It's just they're directing more of it online than they ever have before.
Why?
Because it's measurable, and because every one of us in every study that you will ever see goes online to do our homework, and that's totally true in insurance. So you are probably in most cases you're 2-3 times, depending on the topic, maybe 6 to 10 times hitting the internet, getting different pieces of information before you're making your decision or before you're calling somebody to get you over the hump, right? So consumer behavior is changing. People want to learn for themselves, self-select a little bit more, right? So it's that kind of interest that people want to get ahead of. And then companies are seeing that, in my opinion, it's not even marketing. It's really kind of just communication, right? Consumers want to communicate in different ways. So, companies are trying to find ways to get in that conversation and talk to them. That's very little marketing in that. It's really kind of just being there when somebody raises their hand a lot of times. So it's a different world, and it's very measurable. So I think a lot of our corporate marketing teams that we work with, in some ways, are really the sales team, and sometimes the customer service team too. And they're getting right in front of conversations and engagement in a way that, they never have before.
That's
And then
awesome.
people buy things. And it works.
Did you start with the company when it first started?
No, this is the 4th agency I've been at. How old are we? 20 years now, huh? Since we've been out of school, 22, something like that. So
I think it's longer.
is it longer?
We're creeping up on 25.
Oh, I can't think about it. That's so old. That's where all this. I keep this hair short. I always have, but look how the gray just pokes through. Even I know you got it too.
Oh man, I'm.
But luckily, look at in back.
Oh, that's
we got,
pretty good.
We got all the hair. We have all the hair.
Yeah, me too. See, that's it. Yeah, I always knew I'd have all the hair. It's like carpet.
I did 23andMe. It indicates that I will not go bald.
Good. That's good to know.
I got that going. No offense to anybody that's bald.
Yeah,
because it looks great.
It does. It does.
I'm losing it.
See, and we love you.
It doesn't look bad.
It's covered up. But
Yeah.
You
I
get
think
this
the worst
thing wet, and you see it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the worst is when you get to like half and half, and you just got to make a decision. And I'm hoping.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you have the headband of hair.
So that's kind of awesome. Nobody rocks that anymore.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. You bring it back.
They should call it the
You need
headband. I like that.
The headband. I mean, if you're gonna, there's the mullet, and that's something totally different. But
You could still rock a mullet headband.
Yeah, you could.
wow, that's next level, and that's why we love you. You're always thinking way outside the box.
Yeah. How long does it take to grow the mullet part of that? Probably not that long.
Well, which part is the mullet? The long hair part or the short hair part? We have to define which is
Good
which.
point. Good
Yeah,
point.
'cause that's not growing, right?
Yeah.
That's so that's already done.
Business in the front, party in the back, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
That is what they say.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any
So
data about?
I'm curious. So we've talked a little bit back on the subject.
Okay.
I love it. I'm so fascinated with the whole marketing side of business. And I'm so fascinated with where we're going. I see a lot of these littler agencies pop up, and a lot of classes, and a lot of people are getting involved in that. They're down here. You're up there somewhere. How would a smaller agency like tell me the difference? How would you get into it, and then how would you scale it?
Yeah. Well,
Or
I
is it
think
just two different worlds?
it's pretty different worlds, but one's not better than the other. I know agencies that work with just small businesses that have a ton of people, thousands of people, and all they're doing is small business work. And I know, and obviously, as I explained, we're kind of in the middle of the bigger agency sort of pool. And I know ones and I've worked at ones that are super big too. So, I think there's a different expertise that comes with working with companies that are at different levels, but the agency size and spends and those kind of things can be pretty equal depending on their specialty. So you'll see some agencies that make every bit as much money as we do, or could add their media up to be the same amounts of dollars, but they're working with thousands and thousands of small businesses, right? So, in terms of just scaling in the agency business and what we do, I firmly believe you got to be good at what you do. That's kind of table stakes. But then after that, it's, who do you know? And have you done a good job networking over your career and that kind of thing. They'll say that I'm pretty good at sales at the agency, and I'll tell you that I'm not. I just have been doing this a long time, and I've helped people do good on the company side. So when they hop jobs, they'll give me a call and, want to do it again. And that's been very helpful for me. So, I think networking, getting out there, doing this kind of stuff, webinars, speaking, meeting lots of people, that's really the trick. And there's no shortcut for that.
And what kind of, can you list some of the companies you work with, some of the bigger ones?
I can list a couple. Some I can't, some I can. So sure. Bridgestone's one. Bridgestone's kind of our bread and butter type of company. So Bridgestone is the tire manufacturer, and global, right? And we will do advertising, more on the advertising side. That's helping with brand. So Bridgestone and Firestone and all their brands. They also have their own stores. So they are selling tires out of their own stores and doing car repair. So up here we're doing brand work. There we're trying to push people into stores so they can become customers and grow lifetime value. And then another part of their business is partners or dealers of theirs. So it could be a Costco, somebody big like that, or down to sort of mom and pop shops. And then there's the whole B2B side. So, big giant tires for mining. These things are like bigger than your house and cost $80,000 a tire, right? So there's that whole side of the business, or fleets or that kind of thing. So really a client like that for us can look like 8 or 10 different clients because there's a bunch of businesses within it. So when you talk about those big spends adding up, it's because, you're working on lots of different brands. Another one that we work with, GE, which you guys are familiar with, and here in Louisville, they have their big appliance kind of network, and the biggest part we work with there is the service side of that. So we're making sure that technicians are visible and are getting that kind of business for repairing products, that kind of thing. A brand new client for us, TGI Fridays, whole different world, restaurants, and we're onboarding them, right? So it might be something like that. A different one we have is ARS, and they are the nation's biggest emergency plumbing and heating company. So walk in your house, which has happened to me before, and you've got a flood and you don't know where the water is coming from. You call those guys quick and they come to your house and deal with it. So lots of different kind of clients. And across the agency, but the common piece for it that's kind of our expertise is you either have a store somewhere or you're trying to service a locale. So anything that's got a local component of it and then has that enterprise piece too, that's a good fit for us.
That's cool.
That makes sense? Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Craig?
No, I thought you were, and we keep on each other. So I'll just observe.
Another question I have is, so take us through the process of like what it would be like a client coming to you and what you look for. Like, what are the different, I imagine with somebody like Bridgestone, you segment all those different parts and then figure out goals and how to achieve those results.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're usually presented with either a business problem or they're shopping a vendor for a service. So, and at this scale, it usually looks like an RFP. So it's very rare that a marketing, director or VP could just go hire a new agency and bring them in because the fees are so big and there's a lot going on there. So usually they're inviting you to an RFP process. So that first conversation may be, hey, can you hear the sirens in the back here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's not for me.
Oh, so okay, that's on your end.
That would be a good podcast.
Interview.
Yeah. That'd be good. They busted down that window behind you. That would be a great podcast.
Right, exactly.
People would want to see the video.
Yeah, yeah. So if you put yourself client side, and you're a CMO, CMOs last about a year at a company on average right now. Not very long, and they're flipping jobs all the time, and it's high pressure, right? So there's constant conversation to say what is new out there, or what else could I be doing? Could I improve? And they want to do right by their company, but their lifespan at that company is not very long either. So it's pretty dog eat dog and
brutal.
Yeah, really brutal. So we're having conversations constantly. We're getting questions about could we do better, that kind of stuff. So it's usually one of those two. And usually you end up with, if it goes good, you're into some sort of RFP process for a tactic. You go pitch it, hopefully you win, and then that's the start. So with a Bridgestone, for example, we started with a small paid search contract for one of their store brands in a geography. And so it was very small. And it was a test to say, hey, let's see what you can do. And then we had to beat out other agencies and kind of grow it over time. So can you win the whole thing and get the whole piece of business out of the gate? For sure, that happens too. But more often than not, you're talking about something smaller, you're getting a chance, and you're kind of proving your worth through results. That was not true 10 years ago when all of this was so new that companies were just looking for help from agencies. Oh, can you do that? Okay, great. Let me bring you in. I need to do it, right? So the market's matured, and companies are getting pretty smart about how to shop and make sure that agencies can kind of do what they say they're going to do and produce business results. But yeah, a lot of that's about performance right out of the gate. And hey, we've had a bad 3 months on my first 3 months on the job if I'm the CMO, and I got to turn that around quick. Can you help me? What am I missing? So very different times.
That's crazy.
You got that battle between, or the balance of, or the battle of balance, right? Between driving traffic and sales to brand.
Totally.
And what do you usually, what do you dive in and start with? Or is it some mixture?
Good question. And I know this is true for your all's industry too. We're almost always kind of starting bottom of the funnel and auditing up, and then seeing, what changes will make the biggest impact and prioritizing that, and kind of then moving up through brands. So when I talk about the funnel, if it's a bottom for you guys would be a quote, probably, an insurance quote or something that's the last online thing you can do before you have to talk to somebody to buy, right? So we would look and say, okay, what's that landing page look like that's asking for it? Is there changes we can make there and that kind of stuff? So that's, and if you had your search hat on, that might be a brand, look. So somebody's typing in the brand, they are you visible there? And then you're just starting to move up the funnel to things that are less and less likely to convert. And the thought there is that if you can fill that top and you're not leaking anything through the funnel, then you'll convert more at the end, right? So starting with the bottom of the business and then kind of moving up. So landing pages, those conversion opportunities, that's number one. Then it's usually in brand kind of oriented, brand search, where's my Firestone Complete Auto Care in, Tucson, right? And then, what's the next step? Okay, I've got my tire popped or whatever, right? That kind of inquiry where it's you're pretty likely to buy a tire right now if you're typing that kind of thing in. So then we want to spend our money there, and then up and up and up and up. And then, it's the top of the funnel, you're creating awareness, and that's super important. But if you don't have the rest of it to catch it, once you've done it, it's kind of a waste of money. So we are mature enough now, though, in attribution where we can see that all those things really do work. Early kind of in digital marketing, people would just spend on the bottom because they couldn't tell if the top was working and driving people through. But now things are getting sophisticated enough where you can see it. And then people like Google are doing some pretty interesting things too. So on some of our big accounts, we have access to see store visits. So we can see if somebody types something in, we got them to a place of ours, did they actually end up in one of the stores? And we can optimize to that. So think about that. That's kind of crazy. So if you've got any Google property open on your phone, they know where you're at and what you've done. And that's pretty hard to not have one open, because it might be your calendar. It might be that you did a map search. It might be, who knows what, right? So that kind of stuff's happening now. Facebook does that too, that kind of thing.
And that's the, do you give Google permission to do this? And that's what you just said. You said, follow me. Right?
And you have
it's like
one
human
right now.
It's a human pixel. You don't need the pixel seasoned in the back end on Facebook or whatever. It's it's on you because you're carrying it.
Yeah, that's it. So a client that might have challenged us before to say, I want to tie everything you do down to a sale, may now say, hey, I trust my store to convert people. I want you to get people inside my store, push all your efforts towards that. So the world's changing quick. And that's kind of back to your other question too, why is so much money going to digital. Well, it's because you can prove things like that. You don't know that from a television ad, and, that kind of thing. But it doesn't mean those top of the funnel things aren't important too. They do create awareness, but more kind of understanding of the full funnel is kind of where we're at right now. And the data that's coming behind that is pretty important and pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, like Budweiser can spend, I don't know what it's $50 million on a 30-second ad in the Super Bowl. And there's no way to quantify and measure the return on investment on that, right?
No.
But for years, for decades, they've been doing it, which is just remarkable. That's how much money there is in the big brand.
Yeah, that's it. And it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It does work. For sure it works. Does it work as good as it used to? No, because we have so many, as consumers, we have so many other places where we spend our time, right? And we don't have the patience to watch ads. Who watches live TV anymore? Not too many people, not compared to the old days, right? So they're still going to do it
on your phone when you do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You're still going to, have some part of the population doing it, but now Budweiser's got to go find you in other places too. But it keeps awareness going. When you're in a store, if you've seen that, you may be more likely to buy. They know what they're doing. But yeah, in the old days, you knew nothing. You literally would turn on a bunch of advertising in a market, and then you go look at sales numbers when they came in and hope that you saw a lift. Well, now you can see things that happen in digital and start sorting it out a little bit more.
And it's so targeted that, even seeing that lift after the Super Bowl, there could have been other stuff that happened. Who knows? And it's not even real data.
Yeah. Well, and if you're smart, you're filling the whole funnel during that time, right? So it's
right.
Concentrations is the way you kind of handle that. You want them always on, but when it's selling time, you want to really hit it everywhere. So Super Bowl, Facebook ads, all the way down.
Yeah, you see a lot more pre-marketing ads into Super Bowl and a whole bunch of stuff around it before and after that fills that.
Yeah, it's like the old days with Black Friday. Do you remember when that was one day? Used to be one day. Now it's like all year, right?
Yeah,
it's coming. Black Friday's coming.
Yeah, exactly. We're having a Black Friday announcement sale 3 months before Black Friday.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So to kind of tie it in with insurance, what would your knowledge on marketing is incredible. What would you do for somebody? What questions would you ask us as insurance agents if you had us as a client with our giant agencies, right? But what kind of questions would you ask us, and then where would you kind of take it?
Yeah, and to be honest, insurance is a really competitive field. You guys are good at marketing. The advertising is pretty sophisticated, and there's a lot of noise there. So it's a tricky industry to kind of break through. You can't do it with the basics alone. But if you're not doing the basics, you don't have a shot. So, I'd say first off, the kind of questions I would ask would be, I'd ask you a little bit about where you think your weaknesses are, and where do you think you have, people falling out of the funnel basically, and try to dive into that. And I'd start poking around too. But, kind of what I was talking about before with a bottom up look, I'd want to see real quick, do you have your map locations, sorted out, and do you look good there? Are you ranking for general insurance queries in your geography, and start trying to pick apart, where some opportunities may be. But it's always important to kind of understand from the business, what's your perception of where you might be having problems. And sometimes we find that what might be perceived as a marketing problem could be a customer service problem, right? Like maybe you're doing everything right, but your ratings stink on Google, and that could really be bringing you down, or that kind of thing. So you gotta come in eyes wide open. But yeah, I want to understand where you think you've got opportunity. I want to audit kind of against a general game plan and see if that lines up, and then kind of make a plan to start filling gaps that you've got in the strategy, and then doing more of what's working. Is a lot of it, but it's a super competitive market. A lot of you are tied to bigger brands too, so you've got to figure out how can I be that brand in this area and then probably also muscle out the other guys that are doing the same thing as me. That's hard. So, you really need a full funnel kind of approach to be able to catch everybody that you can. And I see what Craig does personally, and I like it. I think it's really good. So you're learning something along the way. So give yourself more credit than that. Yeah.
I've had some great mentors.
Yeah. But you've also taken the steps to go do it, right? And I think that's where you see most people kind of fall down. It's a lot of people have the right ideas, but do you have the gumption, and will you put the time in to actually go do it? And Craig, it takes a ton of time, right? Like, you got to be really into it and dedicated, and you can't do it for a month and go, it didn't work. I mean, this is forever type stuff, right? So it's hard, but it's really necessary now.
Well, and that's what this whole podcast helps serve too, right?
Yeah.
We joke a lot about how this is the most fun of our week.
Yeah.
Is because this is the non-insurance stuff, but at the same time, it helps create those connections, right? now have you on the show. We had Nick Ayers on it earlier. We have, we're gonna get Hartley. You go after Bear. So it's like you get these people on, they create those connections, and it makes it even more fun. And then we're helping get this information out, which in turn will give us recognition for our agencies.
Yeah.
And also drive some traffic over to Agency Vault, right? Yeah. So there's all of these different moving parts, but when we're helping, right, by just bringing the information, I mean, likely nobody in our space would have ever heard of Mike Corak, right? And bringing you and your perspective, I think, is hugely, vastly valuable to our peers.
Yeah. And I get a lot out of it too, and I believe in it too. And I think you said a really important word, being helpful, and I believe in it. That is a place where not a lot of people will take the time, and if you can do that, it does come back to you. You don't know when, you can't quantify it, but it's many touches of that always works out. So right. I was in Houston last week, and I spoke at a local AMA chapter, American Marketing Association. And people are like, why are you doing that? And I go, I've done 300 of those probably in my career. And I've met so many people, and for sure it's paid for itself. I can pick out a couple places where I got clients or I was able to hire somebody because I met them, at one of these things or whatever. You can't quantify it, but if you keep doing it, it will work. It's just more touches and meeting more people, really.
It's back to execution, right? Just picking something and sticking with it and being consistent. Yeah. Which is a constant motif here. People will come to us because now we're the ones with the gray hair and they want the answers. They think that we have all the answers. Right. And it's like, look, we had Knopfsinger. You don't know his name, but he's a real big agent up in Michigan. He's kind of quiet and low key, but he goes, look, it's not challenging as long as you follow the basic metrics. How many quotes did you do? What's your closing percentage? It's over and over. The same things come up, right? 100%. Same with what you said, look, show them the bottom of the funnel and work backwards, reverse engineer it, right? Yeah. You don't need to reinvent it every time.
No way, man. And no way. There is a game plan. You may vary 20% because of who you are or your specialty or whatever, but these things are done. They're out there. It's you don't have to invent something new most times. You just have to be consistent and do it. And I like what you said, consistency. That's the hardest part. Because, man, sometimes you just don't feel like it. Sometimes I'm on a plane and going to do that stuff.
Dude, I missed 2 gym days in a row, and now I'm freaking hating myself, And it's just like so quick.
Yeah. It can happen. I've missed a lot more than that. I went last week. That's good.
You're a food eating champion, though, and I'm proud of you for that.
Oh, I gotta hear that.
I'm not, but
no, that was it. But we could pivot to the story. So
let's go.
This is a lot of fun, and remember, this is before the internet existed. I think, right? This was.
It would have been.
BC? Tom had that computer, but I don't think it worked very well.
It's the disc days, right? I mean, it's around there. It's probably, what are we talking about? 95, maybe something.
It had to be 94, 95, and so we, like all college guys, were ordering pizza. The story started with ordering some pizza, and I believe that you were the one ordering the pizza.
I was.
Well, let's say what happened.
Yeah, so it was Cardinal Pizza. Cardinal Pizza would give you like an extra large, like the big one that comes in the crazy box. You could get a cheese for like $5, and maybe a topping was another $1.
Really?
It was cheap. So we were nearly vegetarians back then, not out of choice, just we were broke. So you'd usually go
rice and beans.
Yeah, exactly. Rice and beans, beans on rice, rice on beans, maybe mix them. Those are 3 different meals. So I'm living big, probably got some tip money from Time Market, and I'm going to order myself a pizza, and it's a regular night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, say, and studying for a midterm. And I give the guy our address, and he says, "Oh, I used to live there." And I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy. Small town, that's cool." And he's like, "Do you know what happened there?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, at our house?" And he's like, "Yeah, do you know what happened at your house?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you more. I'm going to deliver your pizza, but there was a serial killer that lived at your house." And I'm like, "Come on."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, whatever. And he's like, and his name was the Pied Piper of Tucson. And I'm like, that is the lamest serial killer name ever. That'd be true. And I'm like, okay. And then he comes, and I meet this guy, and he talks it up a little bit. He's like, "Yeah, I've done a bunch of research. They got books at the library, whatever. It's real." I'm like, okay. So bring the pizza in, and I should be studying, but what's in my head? And I know we had the internet then because we did dial-up into the U of A library, and there wasn't much you could get, but I put in Pied Piper of Tucson, and I just watched in the slow speed, boom, 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 boom. All these listings. Oh no, it's real. And it's like Time Magazine and like big publications and all this stuff. So again, I should be studying, but now it's way so I don't even know if I ate any of that pizza. I probably had 1 slice. I go down to the library voluntarily, mind you, and go pull out one of the big, binders of all old Time magazines. And I just dumb luck opened it up. There's the spread. It's black and white of our house. And
our house. On the cover, Time magazine.
So you're scanning it, and it was this creepy guy. I don't remember his name. Schmidt or something.
Schmidt. I think he died now. I mean, it happened a long time ago in the 60s or something.
Yeah. It's crazy. So keep going. Yeah,
it's great stuff.
so he was probably he was short. He's like 5'4", 5'3", 5'4", and he's this creepy looking guy. And he would wear these big boots and stack them with like beer cans and stuff, so he would look taller, like 5'8" or 5'9". And this is like hippie times, right? So kids would disappear, they'd run away, right? So he was part of what he was doing was helping people disappear. So he was kidnapping or bringing girls over to the house or whatever, and then burying them in the desert when he was done. So
crazy.
Yeah. And then the thing that freaked me out the most when I looked at the picture of our house is it was missing 2 rooms. The only room that was there, because it was like a cottage, the only room that was there was mine. And then when I read the story, I'm like, oh, here's the girls you killed in our house. Sweet. In my room. Awesome.
So something that even takes it next level, because that was already crazy, but we had this little dog, and her name was Kimball. And she would go into corners of the house and look up at this and just bark randomly at the walls. After we found all this out, we were freaked out, mortified. And we eventually pretty quickly moved out of there. I think maybe 6 months. It took a little time.
It wasn't much longer. And then we tried to get out of our lease. Do you remember this meeting that we had with our landlord?
Wasn't his name Bob Cole?
We had one eye that would look at you, and then another eye that would go somewhere else. And we're like, hey, when we rented this thing, you forgot to mention that there was a serial killer in this house killing girls. And he's like, I only have to mention that if you were buying the house. Renters don't need to know. And we want out of our lease. And he's like, tough.
Too bad. Yeah. So we didn't get out of our lease. We had to stay another 6 months, and the dog would. Then we noted, I think she had always done that, but we didn't realize, you know?
Right, exactly. And then I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember that punk rock kid I knew from the radio station that was super Catholic, which none of that makes sense as a combo, but we had his priest come over and run through the house and give it a blessing, because we're like because at this point we're convinced it's also haunted for sure, right? So we're freaked out.
Stuff would happen in there.
Yeah, right. It was bad.
Surprisingly, the dishes would never get done by themselves.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy.
Why couldn't that happen?
It was crazy. But so that guy ended up getting prosecuted and put in jail. And back then, Tucson was a big mafia town. And the rumor goes that his parents kind of talked to those guys, and then somebody got him in jail pretty quick after the end. But
the end.
Yeah. So
what do you think about that, Jason and fellow listeners?
That is gnarly. That is a crazy story.
Yeah.
How about?
Yeah, it's so odd. You don't usually come in contact with living in a house that a serial killer lived in. So
No.
How was the backyard?
How was the backyard?
Yeah,
remember the sinkhole? There was like
the sinkhole. Man, there's a million stories on that house with El Guapo and the getting frozen underneath the refrigerator. Remember that?
Oh, good old Guapo.
Lizard?
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah, we had a monitor lizard that was like 3.5 feet long. Like, you know, whole nother thing. We don't need to get into that.
I somehow feel that me saying that was racist or something, right?
I don't think so.
Okay,
but I think he was a different kind of killer. I mean, we're still kind of on the killer train. Yeah.
He did attack me and latch onto my arm, and we had to actually drown him in the bathtub in order to get him to release from my arm.
So he channeled the Piper.
Yeah, he did. He was possessed. Yeah. The Piper was floating around the ceiling, or the dogs would bark, but then ended up in the lizard. That had to be what happened.
I think we're losing listeners now.
So both of you guys said, I'm going to change my life. I don't want to be living with dudes in places that
we got to get out and do marketing. Yeah, that was it.
So that house is gone. They've leveled it and put it in an apartment complex. So good riddance.
Yeah, it's good. It needed to be done for sure.
The neighbor's house is there. The guy that we would call the asshole, but likely we were the assholes.
Yeah, we were. That's how that worked. And that poor guy, how many times did he get robbed while we lived there? Like
multiple.
Yeah.
We didn't because of Mookie. So
yeah. It was nice having a dog that people were scared of, and a lizard inside if they made it.
We did have another dog that would bite everybody's grandma.
Yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
Oh, and it's all true. Amazing.
It's true.
I have one more question about marketing.
Okay.
A little back. We'll go back. For the one person.
The one person left.
That stayed on. You see a lot of people doing personal branding now.
Yeah, right?
Are you guys involved in any of that? Or
yeah, we don't do too much of that. We're more company side, but I suppose we're doing it for our agency thought leaders, right, and our CEO and those kind of people. When we see strategies around that kind of works usually go into a PR firm in our world and out of the marketing realm a little bit. Early days, the PR firms weren't quite digitally savvy, so you'd see more of that in marketing firms. But now today, that might end up on the PR side. But yeah, I think we're doing it, and I think we have to, right, for various reasons. We're doing it for the same reason you all are doing it, right? Trying to get business and get thought leadership out there, finding ways to be helpful. So it's important. But yeah, I wouldn't call us experts, but we're trying.
And so you guys market yourselves.
I think so, right? Yeah. Sure. We need to. In a lot of our kind of conferences, if you want to speak, you have to have some sort of track record, and have built up a following and that kind of stuff. So that becomes important. So on that side, that's a big deal. But it's amazing. It's kind of what we were talking about before with any industry. People are doing their homework before they hire you or they buy or whatever, right? So, you know, it's important to us to know what happens when you put our CEO's name in, and, you know, is there a good story there, or the agency or people that our clients might work with. So we'll look at LinkedIn, we'll look at those places and make sure those touch points tell the story we want them to, and would, you know, inspire confidence in somebody that might work with us. You guys do a ton of that. You have to, huh? Same deal, right? Yeah. It'll be more important. You actually are going to meet some of these guys, you know, when they're coming into the office to talk about insurance and coverage and all.
And I know I don't do it enough, but yeah, I mean, I think that's especially on the captive side. So like you said, you can't brand the product that you're selling, but you can brand yourself.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
I think that's kind of the.
Yeah, we have this dueling thing where it's like leverage the giant name, but at the same time, how do we differentiate ourselves, right? And so we have to battle with that, and then battle with compliance so that we're all legit, you know.
Yeah,
that's why we collect no revenue for this show.
Right. Yeah, for
Be
sure.
Very clear for anybody listening.
No revenue.
With amazing stories like that, you don't get paid. How?
I know. I think like we could monetize that story.
That's a good story.
It's something else. Well, so you're going to the Derby, right?
I'm actually not this year. We've rented out our house on Airbnb. So
where are you going?
We're going to go to Cincinnati, and that's about an hour drive from here. We found a dog-friendly hotel, and we're going to see a Reds game and, you know, hang out. So should be against the Giants. I know you don't like them, so we'll be rooting for them.
Please root against them. Please, it's terrible.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yeah, kind of a accidental marketing story related to this Airbnb. So 2 years ago, one of our friends in the neighborhood rented their house and for Derby, and we were new to town, and they told us how much they were getting. We're like, oh my gosh, we should do that too. And it was their house is a little bigger than ours. I think they were getting $3,000 a night, and I know 6-bedroom or something. But what happens here is these hotels will be can be $700, $1,000 a night. So you had a big enough group of people, you're actually probably saving money, but the numbers are out of control. And so Kim and I were like, well, God, we got to do that. So we got on Airbnb. It's probably 3 weeks before Derby, so probably a little too tight. And made a listing, put it all up there. And we're watching, and it's getting no traffic. And, you know me doing this. I'm trying to put keywords in and do all this stuff. The game, it's not working. And I call Airbnb. I'm like, this is weird. You know, all of our friends in the neighborhood have rented their house. Seems like we should be getting some looks. Is it broken? They looked and they're like, yeah, something's wrong. It's just not getting picked up. And it didn't work out. It was too close. We kind of forgot about it. So 2-3 months ago, we're sitting at home and we both get a text message, and it says, John is excited to come stay at your house on May 2nd, and he has made his deposit. And we're like, what is that? And so we both get on there. Well, that listing had been up for 2 years. We didn't realize it, and it finally started working. And we looked at each other and we're like, well, should we do it? Yeah, why wouldn't we do it? So right now we've got some new people in our house. They've been there since 10 a.m. this morning, my time. So about 6 hours. And I'm looking on my Ring notifications. I see some activity in and out, but there's no fire alerts, so I think we're good. We'll see how it goes. But I've rented them a million times, but my own. So pretty exciting.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. They'll enjoy Derby and all that's good. And who knows, maybe this is what we end up doing. So we did go to Derby though our first year here, and it was a lot of fun. So highly recommend it.
Just rent it out for the whole year, and you can just
right. If I could get that all year, trust me, we'd be doing a lot.
Yeah. Pretty good revenue source.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Well, hey, dude, thank you. So, do you have anything else you want to ask him, Jason?
No, I mean,
you're getting that glassy eye.
I need a cup of coffee, man. I honestly, I just realized I haven't had one since this morning. I've been constantly.
I'll do it.
Oh, you got to keep that going. Yeah, I don't make it.
Yeah.
Your Insurance Dudes podcast is sponsored by Agency Vault, an industry leader in agency coaching, hiring and retaining top talent, and sales training with the 7-step trusted advisor sales framework. Are you up for the challenge? For $99, you'll get 28 days of access and an opportunity to join our private platinum coaching group. For more information, navigate to www.agencyvault.com.
Hey, thanks for checking out the Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.